Hello YouTube, I am Lightly Salted and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to U-Boat, the continuing adventures of U-96. In our previous episode we had tangled with a enemy freighter. Of course we came out victorious and we are continuing to head toward our patrol zone, being BE. We are approximately 60 odd kilometers away from reaching our objective. So we're going to go ahead and take care of some shipborne business here. Mr. Osterman, it is unlikely we will be receiving any transmissions in the near future. And Skipper, you're going to continue your duties at the UZO. And we are going to head off and hopefully this time make it to Sector BE and begin our patrol. On the bright side, we've managed to sink over half of our required tonnage. So at least we've got a leg up on the journey. So an interesting note on the crew management that's going on. You'll recall in the last video I went and set up a 6x6x6 rotation of the crew. So one would assume if I had 2 personnel on the skipper, 2 on Mr. Hagnow and 2 on Mr. Oldorp, that we would be using all 6 of them. However, 11 are on duty. We are receiving a discipline detriment of -4 per minute because of that. On top of working with our officers, we also have a member on the helmsman station, a member on the cleaning stations, and a member on the galley. So it's important to note that while you can schedule your ordinary crew to have so many awake at a certain time, if you have overlapping requirements for crew, it would seem that the game will override your settings and apply them where necessary. Just something to be aware of. And here we are, we finally made it to Sector BE. Fantastic. Mr. Osterman, can you radio that home please? Also, when did you get back on the radio? Again, I'm finding it very difficult to work around this scheduling system, in that the officers, when they are finished sleeping, when their fatigue bar has completely refilled, they simply move to the next item in their priority list. This, of course, being a 9, Mr. Osterman holding a 9 on his radio duties. Not necessarily a bad thing overall, just something to be aware of if you are using enhanced crew management. Okay, now that we've made the patrol sector, I'm going to go ahead and begin hunting. Sector BD has a fairly robust shipping lane in its northern quadrant. I would also very much like to unlock this checkpoint here at the intersection of AM and AL. So I'm going to go ahead and head off in that direction while I begin my hunting procedures. That being, of course, I'm going to drop to periscope depth. Oh, and it slipped my mind. This is actually B127 hotfix 3. Apparently, since our last episode, no less than 3 patches have come out for this particular build, with various tweaks, of course, available in each one. Full list can be found on the Steam site. To facilitate hunting, we're going to drop down to speed 1. Mr. Hagnow, I no longer require you on the navigation station. However, I do require you to switch us to blue lighting. Now, this is interesting. Mr. Osterman jumped on the hydrophone all by his lonesome. That leads me to believe that while you are submerged, his radio duties are less profitable. And of course, what I mean by that is under the Tasks tab, it denotes down here that if the task is not currently profitable, they will move to the next one in line. So as you can see, Mr. Osterman was working the radio at his priority 9, and the moment we drop below the waves, he moved to his next priority 8 on the hydrophone. So we'll continue to use this as we very slowly steam toward that checkpoint and keep an ear out for enemy prop noises. Unfortunately, at our first pass, we are now at half of our oxygen reserve, so I'm not willing to stay submerged any longer. We have picked up nothing. Ergo, we're going to come back to the surface and truck around a little bit and see if we can't get closer to something interesting. As Mr. Hagnow changes the lighting for us, I'm seeing a lot of chatter on both my comments and on my Discord under the U-Boat channel People are experiencing more and more bugs, it seems. If anybody's had any run-ins with a bug that is recreatable, in that it has happened more than once to you, please go ahead and throw it in the comments there, or again, join my Discord and fire it into the U-Boat channel. I'd very much like to know what I'm dealing with when it comes to this build. So please do share your experiences. One of the funnest ones I've heard of so far is that it seems almost every ship that is attacked has a tendency to crack in half at the first torpedo. In earlier builds, 125 and 126, it was fairly rare to see the nose fall off a ship, and ordinarily I only ever saw it when firing into the ship with HE rounds from the deck gun. However, if you've run across this every torpedo cracks it in half type bug, go ahead and let me know down below. Thanks. And I gotta tell you folks, that that navigation correctness, that is dropping so very much more slowly than it was in previous builds. 86% after hours upon hours of Mr. Hagnow being in bed is, I mean, I'm not complaining. This was one of the more frustrating parts of the game, the quick ability to get lost. So I'm quite happy about it. At the same time, does it detract away from a little bit of the realism? I suppose it could be argued that yes, it does. That being said, I mean, I'll take a leg up when I can get one. I don't know about anything but anybody else, but yeah, that'll work out. Interesting to note, when you do use the quick selects for your depths, in this being the periscope depth, the captain himself leapt out of bed to perform the action on the valves. This leads me to believe that since the valves themselves in the tasks under crew don't have a readout here, they don't have a priority listed under valves, it seems to me that you'll have to program your own. So what I plan to do is putting these in as... Oh, and also you do not have the ability to go beyond 9 for your crew. I cannot program this as a 10 or 11 or etc. Alright, that changes the game ever so slightly. I'm going to put it at a 9, competing with the engines. With any luck, that means that a spare person on the engines, should I order a drop to periscope depth or below, will rush off to activate the valves. Another quick point that was thrown at me in the comments section, it appears that setting a higher priority for your cleaning stations is very, very important. A member of the community reached out and let me know that his boat began suffering morale issues due to it being untidy. This leads me to believe that the 3, while pre-programmed in-game, is not sufficient to keep morale up. Apparently, understandably, your sailors do not want to work in a dirty boat. So I'm going to go ahead and give that the same priority as the depth steer station. I think ordinarily, in a moment where I'd want someone on the depth steers, I'm not too concerned about the cleaning aspect, so I don't worry too much about a conflict there. So again, we're going to throw in 7s. This will also compete with observation. We're going to see how that works out for us. Mr. Osterman, on the hydrophone, please. Let's get down to speed 1. Mr. Watcher, I appreciate your dedication to your tasks. However, you continue to drive yourself to levels of fatigue that I'd rather you did not. Mr. Oldorp is in bed, so I suppose I'll put Mr. Hagnow down as well. Again, this scheduling system is not ideal for my playstyle. However, it is what it is. We'll go ahead and figure it out together. Mr. Hagnow refuses to stay in bed, so I'll have him change the lights for us, I suppose. And carry on. And Mr. Oldorp has gone back to his station as well. Okay. Sure. Alright, we've got a transmission from HQ. We'll go ahead and get that decoded. Mr. Osterman, grab some help and get that done ultra fast, please. Alright, HQ has told us that crucial technology has been loaded on the Freighter Empire Lightning. It must be sunk at all costs. 4831 by 1640. And this is a very large group, 16 to 37 ships. We'll go ahead and lay in an intercept course for her. We are going to slow down to speed 3, get Mr. Osterman down for a nap. Mr. Watcher just cannot stay away from those torpedoes. I appreciate it. And we'll have our crew operate our diesel compressor for us, which is, it is very nice to not have to get one of my officers to do it. I'll say that. And we will see what we can do about finding the Empire Lightning. Alright, we're beginning to get up close and personal with the convoy at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and plot a course for her. And with any luck, we can find an area to sit and wait.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen. Kurs auf diese Koordinaten. Kurs an.
Alright, we've gotten ahead of the supposed location of our convoy. We're going to go ahead and slow now and wait for the convoy to come to us. It's becoming difficult to manage my crew. Even the times 18 speed is very, very fast. If your eyes are not glued to your officers at all times, you are going to miss out on the fact that some of them become fatigued very, very quickly. Definitely something you want to keep an eye on for new players to 127 if you're using enhanced management. Okay, command has reset our knowledge of the convoy. She is now sitting up over our line within 12 kilometers. Let's go ahead and get an idea of where she roughly may be sitting. And it is a fair distance. I'm going to go ahead and back the boat up. And we will see what happens there. I think this is a likely place to stop. We should cover most of the circle. Just going to clean up the map really quick. With any luck, with her heading directly directly toward us, we will pick up at least the outsides of the convoy and start to figure out what we can do about finding this target. Okay, we're going to drop down to periscope and see if we can't pick up this convoy. Mr. Osterman, let's get on the listening post, please. It is concerning how fatigued Mr. Watcher's... Actually, real quick, a member of the community reached out to me. It turns out that in German, Watcher would be closer to Vector. So that's something interesting there. Mr. Vector, I like it. I think I like it. Has himself driven to half fatigue over uselessly warming torpedoes all night long, I suppose. We're going to see how that turns out for us. Oh, God. We were inside the convoy the whole time. And only the fact that it is 3 a.m. and fairly dark out saved us. We have 2 destroyers, 2 tankers, and 5 freighters so far that we can see in our bubble.
Kapitän.
This is going to get interesting very quickly.
Sehr wohl, Herr Kaloy.
I need to know what direction everyone's heading in. So we'll go ahead and throw a point on this ship. And it's very possible you folks at home can't see anything, I understand. At the same vein, not only will Mr. Hagnell switch us to blue lighting, he's also going to turn off that gyro compass and get us quiet. Skipper, can you jump on the radio for me real quick and radio that back to command? Thank you. Mr. Hagnell, let's shut that down, please. Alright, we are making 85 decibels, hanging completely still. Mr. Oldorp, let's go ahead and switch to manual steering and cut that down. I do not want these destroyers picking us up. This destroyer is outfitted with sonar, as is this one. It does not appear that any of our slower lumbering targets... Oh, we have a Corvette on the outside. The Corvette is not outfitted with listening devices, so that's a plus. Mr. Oldorp, let's get your head down for the moment, please. You may be required to help warm up torpedoes with Mr. Vector. Thank you, Skipper. I think I will have the skipper stay on the radio for now in case we pick up any chatter. Alright, this ship has moved far enough away from our point that I'm willing to throw another point on her. Right about yay. We're going to go ahead and find ourselves a good north-south position here and here. And we're going to go ahead and draw a line out through that north-south position. And using our protractor, we will get a relative bearing. Alright, so this ship here is moving at a bearing of about 254 degrees. Again, this is 0 and 360. Anything to its left would be a negative. So 360 minus 106 give us 254. Again, as I pointed out in one of my last videos, if you require some more information on manual targeting, please go ahead and check out longtime friend of the channel, Red Dragon. Makes very excellent, easy to follow tutorials on how to set up manual targeting. So go ahead and check his channel out. There should be a graphic here on the screen somewhere letting you know where he lives. Tell him Salted sent you. He loves that. So we're going to go ahead and throw in 254 for everything we can see, because it is very, very likely that if one member of the convoy is heading in a direction, then the likelihood of the rest of them doing it is pretty high. Alright, and since it is extremely unlikely I'm going to be poking my nose out of the water for any particular reason, because I don't want I don't want the destroyers picking me up, I'm going to go ahead and try to get manual distancing on our ships by using my compass. So I'll go ahead and select here on my ship and begin drawing out. So there we have 1 kilometer. And it's important to keep your these two lines separate so you can figure out which bubble is for what distance. And 2, 3, 4, and 5. Mr. Vector, let's get on some torpedoes. I'll have you start on number 1. Mr. Oldorp, let's get you started on number 5. So to find our convoy's speed, I'll have our captain first jump on the attack periscope. He will not be using it. However, it's going to have a handy-dandy little feature that we can make use of to get our convoy's approximate speed. Alright, his periscope is hidden, so that's good. We're going to go ahead and place a point here on the ship, and I could have done this when I got my initial check, but I thought this would be best to leave alone. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to select my skipper, I'm going to pull up manual mode, and bring up his chronometer. So what's going to happen is I'm going to start the chronometer and unpause the game, alright? And I'm going to allow the second hand to run around 3 times. That's going to be 3 minutes in-game time, at which point I'm going to stop it and check back with you. Bear with me. Go. And 3. Alright, so I stopped it and hit pause at the same time. And there's a good reason for that. Now we see our ship here. I'm going to place another point on her in the same place that I placed a point before. Right about yay. Boop. I'm going to measure the distance between those 2 points. Now this ship has traveled 580 meters in 3 minutes. This convoy is moving fairly quickly. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and divide this 580 meters by 10 to get me 5.8. This convoy is going almost 6 knots. Now, very, very important to note, I don't know if this works in metric. I know this works in mixed, okay? I don't know if it works in strictly nautical measurements. So in mixed, your distance is in kilometers and meters, and your speed is in knots. This trick works with meters and knots. I'm not sure about the rest. Don't quote me. Please don't blame me if it goes wrong for you if you use a different setting, but in mixed, this is a fairly good indication of your convoy's speed. So I'm going to go ahead and enter them as 5.8. 5.8. It's going to round up to 6, but the game understands what I'm talking about here. I promise. Alright, unfortunately, of course, we have no way of knowing which of these ships is our target, the Empire Lightning. So we're going to have to do our best to pick out targets and hope for the best. Now you can get a little, well, cheaty. This looks to be an Empire again, same idea. Now this is new. I have yet to run into tankers. Tankers are something new in B127 to me. I'm not sure how well you can make her out in the moonlight, but tankers are a new animal altogether. So currently my plan, we don't have a very good angle as we ended up somewhere in the middle of this convoy. So I plan, I don't want to shoot at this ship because this ship would eat the rounds. So what I plan to do is fire at this tanker here. I'm going to fire at this freighter, and I'm going to fire at this freighter. So I'm going to go ahead and wait until Mr. Watcher, Mr. Vector, sorry, and Mr. Oldorp have those last two torps warned for me, and then we'll figure out what we're shooting at who. Okay, all of our torpedoes are primed. I want to fire at this tanker, I want to fire at this freighter, and I want to fire at this freighter, because our angle is not too terrible on any of those ships. I see no reason to start wasting rounds on destroyers. I don't think I can hit this one because this freighter will eat the torpedoes. And these ones here, they're lagging behind. I'd worry about the chances of hitting. So let's go ahead and figure out where they are. So this freighter is roughly 390 from my 2-kilometer line. Ergo, I believe her to be 2390 meters away. We'll go ahead and lock that in. This freighter is 580 meters away from our 3-kilometer line, so she's 3850. And this freighter is about 150 meters away from our 2-kilometer line, so she'll be 2150. Alright, now, I want to fire at this one first, then this one, then this one. So these two targets are 1700 meters away from each other. So if I fire at this target, wait for 1700 meters, and then fire at these two targets, with any luck, they should land fairly close together as not to alert the rest of the convoy. So this is our 1K circle. If we go 700 meters out from her, and draw out to that circle line, when our first torpedo leaves this circle, we can fire at this ship. Let's go ahead and try to set that up. So for this tanker, I have 2 lined up. I'm going to go ahead and fire them. Now this tanker, I'll line up 1 shot. This is flooded. There's a glitch in the game where if you switch targets, it doesn't look like it's flooded, but it is by the little blue dot right here. And as soon as these torps leave that circle, I'm going to let loose on her, and then this freighter here. In fact, I think I'll fire 2. I think I'll fire 2 at this freighter. Just because. And right about now. We'll switch targets to our 3rd, and we will begin flooding the tubes. My plan is to dive and move to the other side of the convoy. So I'm going to head in this direction. I'm going to go at speed 1, and I want my depth to be maximum. 150 meters down. So we're going to see how this works out for us right here and now. I'm going to do my best to try to catch some visuals for you all, but I'm going to be switching between multiple targets here, so bear with me. Okay, we've got an Empire here with 2 heading in, and a good tag in the rear. followed by midships. Perfect. Good. Okay, this ship here. See if we hit her. It looks to be on course. And dead center. Fantastic. Okay, our tanker. Something new that I've never shot before. It looks to be on track. Our 2 torpedoes are heading in. It'll be rear and mid. Perfect. Fantastic. Awesome. Love it. Alright. Excellent shots. Loving it. Tooting my own horn ever so slightly. But that was pretty epic. They all fell within about 5 seconds of each other, so I'm pretty happy with it. Mr. Oldorp, let's get you down for a quick nap in case we need max speed in the very, very near future. And we managed to sink one of those ships. The Oligarch has been sunk. So the Oligarch was our tanker. And with any luck, some of you can see this at home. She is sinking rapidly. That is fantastic. Our first freighter hit seems to have suffered fairly minimal damage, but she is on fire. She's lagging in the rear fairly significantly. Freighter number 3 suffered almost no damage whatsoever. She is listing off course. She is alarmed. She appears to be sitting slightly lower in the water. However, I do not believe she's going to go down on her own. Unfortunately, we have to get ourselves gone. Now, while I'm still relatively in the baffles of this destroyer as she makes her turn, I'm going to go ahead and speed up slightly in the hopes to get away from her before she brings her hydrophone to bear. Mr. Watcher, let's keep working on them torps.
Bestätigt.
I'm suddenly, for the first time, finding it annoying that he is warming torpedoes. Normally, I have to fight with him to warm torpedoes, and now all of a sudden, he's not doing it, or he is doing his job, and it's driving me crazy. So yeah. Okay, folks, with any luck, I will see you on the other end of this convoy. If anything comes up, I will be sure to stop and let you know. Okay, we have found a carrier. We have found an aircraft carrier, people. We have an escort carrier loaded with aircraft. Oh my. Okay. I'm definitely not going to be abandoning this convoy. We are going to keep zipping back and picking at her for as long as I can survive it. That is just fantastic. I'm going to slow down. She's creeping up behind us. I don't want her detecting us. And we're going to see how that turns out. As with the convoy, she's probably still on a bearing of 254. It is very likely she's still moving at 5.8 knots. And we'll get distance on her when we set up for a shot. I'm going to go towards this warship and increase our angle to her and see what we can get done here. Really quick note, comparatively to 127, our oxygen and discipline are dropping so slowly, it's kind of terrifying. By now, I would be at half, if not less than half of my oxygen reserves in the last build. And I probably would have had 3 heart attacks by now from morale issues. So, I gotta say, I'm a fan of that improvement in this build. I love the fact that I've got more oxygen. Does it detract a little bit from the realism? Sure, but I'm good with it. I'm 100% fine with that. That means more sinking ships for me, so hey, loving it. So once we slow down to 0, we're going to go ahead and get a distance check on our illustrious friend over here. I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup. Okay, we are dead still at the moment. I want to get an idea of how far away this carrier really is. We're going to go ahead and bring us up to periscope depth. Mr. Oldorp, I'm going to want you on the depth steers for this. I do not want to breach the surface. So we're going to improve depth keeping there. Okay, we've reached periscope depth. So we're going to go ahead and take another reading on her. She is... Let's go ahead and call it 1,460 meters away. So I'm going to say 1450. 1450. All right. Let's go ahead and flood tubes 5, 4, 3, and 2. And we are going to cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. In all honesty, this is worth putting the periscope up for, just in case. Because if I hit her, I'm going to be very happy about it. Let's do it. She's out there. You probably can't see it there at home, but I can see her. And we're going to see if we can tag ourselves a aircraft carrier. Come on. Okay, we got a tag. Something happened. 2, 3, 4. 4 hits. No explosions. I don't... Is that a graphical glitch? She sunk. We sunk her. We broke the Illustrious in half. Oh my god, look at the plane. The plane took off on fire and then fell back into the water. We broke her in half. Ladies and gentlemen, we have sunk an aircraft carrier. I also very much appreciate that they read out the depths more often now, as opposed to every 50 or so. They now read out every, say, 20 or so. That's fantastic. So we're gonna try to set up for re-meeting this convoy in future. I'm gonna want to recharge our batteries, get some air. Okay, we are in the baffles of pretty much every warship, so I'm going to go ahead and increase speed. I don't think they're going to catch us at this point. I may be wrong, but I think we're in the clear. And folks, this is where I'm going to have to end this episode. Again, sorry to do the cliffhanger stuff to you, but I mean, it is what it is. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. The feedback from the community has been fantastic. I'm absolutely blown away at the support. I really didn't think that something I would do in my spare time would bring me this much joy, honestly. I'm enjoying this immensely. I enjoy the community. I enjoy the back and forth. Please, if you haven't already, go down and look in the description for the Discord server. Join it up. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about other games. Let's talk about, you know, what's going on in your day. Let me know. And if anybody's noticed a change in the quality of the stream, just let it be known that I went ahead and learned a little bit more about my PC that I didn't know before, and I'm using a different recording program, and, well, I mean, it seems to be working out pretty well. So, yeah. Loving that HD. Alright, folks, that's it. I have been Lightly Salted. Thanks for tuning in. Bye now.